This program is sponsored by Dave Stahl. It's time to get educated on your Second Amendment rights. Welcome to 2 full hours of Gun Owners Radio. Your hosts Dave Stahl, Joe Dramisi, and Michael Schwartz will teach you about firearms, self-defense, and the laws that affect your rights to keep and bear arms. Visit gunownersradio.com with questions to learn how to become a sponsor of Gun Owners Radio and get involved. Together, we will win. Now here's your hosts, Dave Stahl, Joe Dramisi, and Michael Schwartz on The Answer San Diego.
All right, folks, welcome to Gun Owners Radio on FM 96.1, AM 1170.
The Answer.
This segment is sponsored by the great John Dillon and Dillon Law Group. Got legal matters that involve anything gun-related? Call attorney John Dillon. Got problems involving these new red flag laws? Call John Dillon. What about gun registration questions? Call John Dillon. Gun transportation. Maybe you aren't sure that your gun complies with California law. You need to call our trusted firearms attorney, John Dillon. John Dillon is right here in Carlsbad and specializes in California gun law. You can call him at 760-642-7150, or you can visit his website at Dillon Law Group GP or lawgp.com. That's DillonLawGP.com. All right. Well, John Dillon was going to call in and he just did an amicus brief that he wrote.
I'm actually here.
There he is. There he is in the defense of a butterfly knife. Now, who goes out and cuts up butterflies?
Yeah, so it was a interesting case to jump in on, but I wrote an amicus brief on behalf of Knife Rights Foundation, Firearms Policy Coalition, and the one and only San Diego County Gun Owners Association. Woo. So to give a little background on this case, so just like in California, Hawaii has very strict weapon laws, not only with regard to firearms, but with regard to knives and other self-defense items. And it's funny I always tell people this. I guarantee you, if anyone in California or Hawaii just let me into their house and search through their house, I guarantee you I could find some type of item, weapon, or knife that is illegal to possess in essentially every house. It's kind of like things you can buy on Amazon are illegal to possess in California, and just no one knows. And rarely the laws are enforced, unless you're already in trouble and they just happen to find that prohibited item as well. But in Hawaii, they've banned the possession, the sale, the transfer, the importation, the manufacture of butterfly knives since 1999. And anyone who isn't quite sure what a butterfly knife is, it's also called a balisong. These are the knives where it's a split-handle knife, which you see in the movies. They flip it open, and they can do some fancy little tricks with it, and it opens up the knife. So the state of Hawaii has banned those for since 1999. And, a lot of people kind of overlook the fact that, the Second Amendment is the right to keep and bear arms. It's not the right to keep and bear firearms or guns or muskets. It's arms. And that is quite literally all arms that can be used for self-defense and other lawful purposes. So knives are protected by the Second Amendment. They are arms under the Second Amendment. And, for a long time now, states have kind of gotten by with banning these, knives and other objects without having a pushback when it comes to Second Amendment legal challenges. And so we jumped in on a case which actually did challenge that.
That's awesome. I read it, and I'm very, very proud that you wrote that on behalf of San Diego County Gun Owners. Now, if for a gun owner out there that's listening, why should they care about this? Should they, think, well, gee, I'm never going to own a butterfly knife, or does this affect them?
Well, yeah. So that's a great question because. Yeah, you may be a gun owner or you may be a knife owner even, but you have no interest in ever owning a butterfly knife. But the same arguments that the state uses to, ban firearms, they just recycle those same useless arguments to ban all knives or certain knives. And the thing is, when you're challenging these laws under the Second Amendment, you're challenging the state's legal argument. So, for example, in this case, the state was saying, oh, well, we got to ban butterfly knives because they're associated with criminal activity and gang members. Now, we did a little delving into, the state's evidence as a part of our brief, and we found that the only evidence the state offered that, butterfly knives are dangerous or unusual or associated with crime is before the law even passed in 1999. So back when butterfly knives were legal in the state of Hawaii, the police department said, oh, we commonly find these at swap meets for sale, and we always find these knives on, juveniles and even gang members. And the funny thing about that is that's not evidence of knives being used in crimes. In fact, it's evidence that these are commonly owned knives that are bought and sold at swap meets, that everyone that they stop, all these kids and even gang members have them. There's no actual evidence of these knives ever being used in a crime or being associated with actual criminal activity. All the state's evidence was, well, we just found a couple of these and we watched a couple 1980s, action movies and we think they're really dangerous. When in fact, when you open up a butterfly knife, it's the same as any other knife. It has a pointy end and a sharp blade, and that's about it. And so it was really interesting to see that the state just kind of assumes that they can ban these things, and they've offered no real evidence to support that. And that's what these challenges are important about, because by challenging these laws and showing, like, look, the state has no evidence to support any type of ban like this, why would why would a court uphold this type of law? It's the same thing when it comes to guns. When a state comes in and says, well, we're going to ban this gun. Well, why are you going to ban that gun? It's just a gun. It's the same as any other gun. There's nothing different or special about it. The fact that you hold your rifle with a pistol grip rather than a, quote, featureless grip, does it change the gun? It doesn't. So there's no actual evidence that butterfly knives are any different than regular knives. And similarly, there's no actual evidence that AR-15 with pistol grip is any different from an AR-15 without a pistol grip. And so it's a good way to challenge the state's arguments in related cases to show that, look, this is how the Second Amendment needs to be applied, and it needs to be applied the same way to all arms.
Well, John, let me ask you this, because here's what's clicking around in this little fuzzy brain of mine. If you could ban that particular knife, would a Bowie knife, would a samurai sword, would a lancer, would all of these be close behind?
Well, yeah, and that's the slippery slope kind of argument that we're talking about, because the state has gone forward and said, well, these knives are dangerous and we don't like them, so we're banning them. Well, we've already shown that there's no evidence for why they should be banned whatsoever. So if another Hollywood movie comes out where they use a different type of knife and makes it look like a scary thing, yeah, maybe, Bowie knives are going to be next.
What about a kitchen knife? What about a kitchen knife? I mean, come on, I cut myself on a kitchen knife.
Well, a great example is in England, in London, they don't have the right to bear arms. You're not allowed to have firearms,
right? And
they're prohibited all over. You can't get them over there. But so the knife crime has dramatically increased all over London and England, to the point where now the courts over there are trying to prohibit knives completely, up to the point where there's judges over there suggesting that they need to have state-backed programs where you come in and bring your kitchen knife to a police station where they'll grind down the tip of your knife to prevent stabbing.
Good. That's good. I feel safer already.
That up, but that's a real thing. Like,
well, didn't they just have a mass, cutting up in England just today or yesterday, where somebody went in, killed somebody with a knife and cut a bunch.
A mass stabbing.
They did. Sliced up 6 people. So
and their solution to that is to put, post office-like boxes all over London where you can anonymously drop off your knife and turn it in.
Hey, they can have all of our post office boxes, all blue ones.
Yeah, we're done with ours.
Since we confiscated all ours, we ought to sell them to England. All right, buddy. Hey, we got to let you go, but that's an unbelievable subject matter. Do you stay up late at night coming up with these things? I mean,
Oh, yeah. Late nights all day long.
Yeah, well, that's because you got kids.
Yeah.
All right, buddy. Hey, it's always good talking to you, folks. I'm telling you, if you ever get yourself in a situation, you want to go to DillonLawGP.com or call him direct at 760-642-7150. John Dillon, the expert when it comes to gun laws. Thanks, buddy. Have a good holiday tomorrow.
You too. See ya.
All right. We're going to take a quick break. We come back a whole lot more right here on Gun Owners Radio, FM 96.1, AM 1170.
The Answer.
There's more Gun Owners Radio with Dave, Joe, and Michael to come on The Answer San Diego.
All right, folks, welcome back to Gun Owners Radio, FM 96.1, AM 1170.
The Answer.
What's the best defense for self-defense and those horrible red flag laws? That would be firearms legal protection. Firearms legal protection is a legal defense program for lawful gun owners with a 24/7 emergency hotline. Let them provide the lawyer for you. Call Firearms Legal Protection today. That's Firearms Legal Protection at firearmslegal.com or call them direct at 469-310-9100. All right, who's your special guest today, Mike?
Special guest is a candidate for Congress here in the San Diego area. He was, hopefully he's still got a voice left. He was out on the Trump boat parade.
You were there too, weren't you?
I was there too, yeah. I wasn't yelling nearly as loud as everybody else. That was unbelievably huge. It was anyway. Our guest is Jim DeBello. Jim, are you there?
I am. Hi, Mike. How are you?
Good, man. I'm doing well. You were at the boat parade, right?
I do have my voice, man. I tell you, I was steering through all those boats. There must have been over 500 vessels. What do you think?
It was unbelievable. I was on a nice big boat right in the center, and no matter where I looked, there were boats as far as the eye could see. It was crazy. And what was really surprising were all the people lining the shoreline with Trump flags. I didn't anticipate that happening.
I know.
Oh, I think 50,000 people or even more, and it was hooting and hollering the whole time. So, yeah, I do have my voice.
Yeah. It was awesome.
Yeah, I can't wait for the Biden boat parade. I think it's 2 canoes, and that's it. No, I shouldn't be that way.
Yeah, it was amazing. What brought you out there, Jim? Do you have your own boat, or what were you doing?
Well, I've been a long-time sailor here in San Diego, and I do have my own boat, and we had our precinct admirals and precinct captains on board. These are individuals who have helped create our precinct program for our campaign. And so we had appropriately distanced on a boat, and we were hooting and hollering and blasting the horn with our flags, and we were very proud about that. And it was such an inspiration, honestly, to see that many American flags and people with such pride. And it was a happy occasion, and no protesters.
That's awesome. So do me a favor, Jim. Will you help save California?
I'm working on that right now. You know, before I got on my boat, I was on a shelter island. We had a morning event with the Point Loma Republican Women's Club early in the morning at 8, and they continued on as I went on board to register people to vote. There was a guy who was leaving. I go, "Why are you leaving so soon?" Well, I don't like these Trumpers. I'm not a effing Trumper. I've got a effing brain. And I go, "Well, I can tell by your vocabulary, you're a man of letters."
So you're running for what? First off, tell everybody what office you're running for.
Well, I'm a congressional candidate for the 52nd district, and that district runs from Coronado up through Point Loma into La Jolla, then goes right through Mira Mesa, Serrano Valley, Carmel Valley, out to Tierra Santa, Penasquitos, and Poway. So it's a big district. It also includes downtown San Diego west of 5, the Central Business District. So it's about 50% of our economy here in San Diego County.
And your opponent is horribly, terribly anti-gun.
Well, he is. His name is Scott Peters. He is an incumbent, has been in office for 8 years, and has had nothing but political positions prior to that. So he has never had a job in the private sector. He has been paid by the government his entire life, starting out as an EPA lawyer. But let me tell you, he is anti-gun. Furthermore, he's anti-big business, and I think he's anti-doing anything. He keeps a very low profile. So I think that's not good for this county that needs special attention as we grow out of the COVID crisis and to create jobs. And that's what I'm equipped to do. So I have a lot of things to say about that. But, yep, I'm a first-time candidate. I'm a businessman from San Diego. I've run businesses. I've signed the front of paychecks.
Well, and you know what we need is a hands-on politician. Somebody that's willing to roll up, and I know this sounds corny, but somebody that's willing to roll up their sleeves and fix the problems that are out there, because there's millions of them.
There are. And I just think it's all about focus, Mike. If I look at our Congress, they really are locked in within the Beltway, what President Trump calls the swamp. Mm-hmm. But we know that you get into that and you're peppered by individual lobbyists. You're influenced by people who give you big campaign contributions through PACs. And frankly, you don't, I think, have a path because you're not focused. I was taught early in my career it's all about focus. I remember a prominent businessman, it was an investor, said, Jim, there are 5 reasons for success. Focus, 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 and you can guess the last one.
Yeah.
I think that's true. Well, look at homelessness as an example. Big concern to San Diego voters. Right, and it's grown over the last 8 years. Where has Scott Peters been on that? Mm-hmm. And veterans make up the second largest population of homeless in the state of California, right here in San Diego. So we have a lot of work to do. So we need to focus on solving problems right here in our backyard. The border being another one. Let's make it legal immigration. I come from a family of immigrants. I'm proud of that, and I think that's the reset button for America. Meaning, on a computer, when you have a fault, you reset the button. In America, we have this continual supply of qualified people who, if they come through legally, are welcomed as Americans. It's the problems that happen when you try to go around the system. I had an employee. I have to tell you the story. It's a good one. He's from Iran. It took him 8 years to get his citizenship. 8 years. He's a very talented IT guy, worked in the company. And he was very proud of going through the paces, getting it done properly. And when he sees people coming through illegally, it makes him angry, makes him upset that he had to do it the right way, yet people are cutting in line. That's just not right.
Oh, no, he should be livid. Because I'm telling you, if it was me, I would not be a happy camper. Because becoming a citizen is not easy. But I will say, people that do become citizens the way you did it, you know more about our history than we do.
Yeah, isn't that true?
That's funny. That true? Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
So so how's the campaign looking, Jim? What's going to be your focus for the next 2 months?
Well, I'll tell you what. I call this the COVID campaign, right? Talk about a curveball. We certainly didn't expect that. We had a very strong primary showing, and we were rolling into the general election when everything got shut down. So, of course, I've been doing a lot on digital with Zoom and telephone. But things are opening up now, as they should have, and continue to open up further. So we're on full speed ahead. It's looking good. We have a deficit, about 8 points right now from our analytics, like where President Trump is, and we think we're going to make it up just like he did. Mm-hmm. We believe that our opponent is distracted, that our opponent had looked, frankly, to even run for mayor earlier on, and we're not sure how committed he is because he's been so darn invisible. And in 8 years, he's passed 0 bills that he has personally authored. And I just think that's deplorable. It's not leadership. And we need somebody in there with passion, with energy, who's going to actually show up in Washington. And I will do that. And let me tell you about that last one. This is interesting. For the first time in our history, since our Constitution was approved 240 some odd years ago, Congress has approved the fact that you can give away your vote by proxy to another member. So 70 Democrats, and this is all approved by the Democrats, have provided their votes to another member of the House with their instructions, but that other member can do whatever they want. So Scott Peters has given his vote to a woman from New York who was voting for the 52nd District. And he is not traveling to Washington, D.C. to debate these big issues of multi-trillion-dollar packages for COVID relief. I think that's not fulfilling your oath of office. And I think that is something that is abhorrent. Nobody wants a representative who doesn't show up.
So you're making a campaign promise that if elected into Congress, you're going to actually vote for things.
I'll actually show up and
show up to the job and vote for things.
No, that's it. Show up and do your job.
Yeah, isn't that amazing? You have a horrible opponent when that's.
Well, that's where term limits for politicians. There needs to be term limits. I mean, these people can't get into office and then camp out.
Well, but in all fairness, Scott Peters stunk from the. In all fairness, Scott Peters stunk from the get-go. From day one, he was horrible. So. Yeah.
But he still got in. He still got in some way, somehow.
Consistency is important.
First of all, I like your idea of term limits. I do believe in that. I think that makes a whole lot of sense.
Sure.
They get stale, they get within the bubble, and they don't think creatively, and they're out of touch. We're in the 21st century, and there's some challenges ahead of us, right, with regard to education, preparing our kids for the 21st century and make them capable and new jobs that will be created, and looking at the jobs that will be eliminated. We need to really focus on this. We have to worry about cybersecurity. We have to worry about ID protection. We have to worry about IP theft. We have to worry about China. So there's a lot of things that we need for the 21st century that weren't required in the 20th as much. And I think that our current representative lacks those skills. So I just think it's interesting. I debated Scott Peters on the League of Women Voters last Thursday evening. I hope, and I've challenged him to 3 more debates. Guys, if we can get him on another debate on your program, wouldn't that be great? I don't think that he'll agree to that. But I'm trying to get on television with a debate. I think it's incumbent for anybody to debate the issues as a candidate and as an incumbent. So anyhow, the point is, during the debate with the League of Women Voters, and this is the Claremont Town Council, you can go to the League of Women Voters San Diego and actually get the link and review the hour-long debate. It was on Zoom, regrettably, but again, on Zoom. He said bipartisan probably a dozen times.
Oh, really?
But in reality, he votes over 90% of the time with Pelosi. So my question to him was, how can you be bipartisan if you vote 90% with Pelosi?
Right.
It doesn't make sense.
No.
So, he's not a moderate like people think he is. He truly votes liberal, and every Democrat, including Joe Biden, are getting pulled to the radical left.
Yeah.
We have to prevent that.
Hey, Jim, hang on for a second. We got to take a quick break, and I suggest you reach out to KUSI and tell them you want to do a 1-hour debate, and let them reach out to Mr. Peters, and let's see where that goes, because I got a feeling they'll do it.
I saw Mike McKinnon on the dock today.
Yeah, I seen him there. I seen him. He had the whole family down there. But I'm telling you, put him on the spot, and let's see if he steps to the plate.
Mike, I'll work with you on that one. Thank you. Yep. Okay,
so hang on. Hold on.
Don't go anywhere. We're coming right back. We got to go pay some bills right here on FM 96.1 AM 1170.
The Answer.
Welcome back to Gun Owners Radio, educating you on your Second Amendment right. Now, here are your hosts of Gun Owners Radio, Dave Stahl, Joe Dramisi, and Michael Schwartz on The Answer San Diego.
All right, folks, welcome back to Gun Owners Radio, FM 96.1 AM 1170.
The Answer.
Hey, folks, California assault weapon laws make it almost impossible to own an AR pattern rifle. What's the solution? Cali Key. Cali Key converts any mil-spec direct impingement AR platform rifle into a straight pull-bolt action rifle so it can have all the features without being considered an assault weapon. It's a true drop-in solution. No milling, no aesthetic modifications, and no turning off your gas system. Keep your entire AR collection intact at a price you can afford with Cali Key. Check out Cali Key at CaliKey.com. That's KALIKEY.com. All right, we're bringing back Jim DeBello, candidate for Congress.
The 52nd District.
Yep.
So a lot of people, look at California and think, hey, here's a Republican who is out on the Trump boat parade today. There's just no way he can win with you got this super liberal Scott Peters in there. There's just no way he could win. But I got to tell you, that your district runs through it's a fairly purple district. It runs through some red areas. And when your opponent won, Carl DeMaio, I mean, he basically stole the race from Carl DeMaio. Carl was going to win that race. He was right there. The trajectory was right for him to win. They lied about him. The person who lied about Carl DeMaio actually spent time in jail. So this isn't, assumption or accusation. I mean, this person was a proven liar in a courtroom, and the judge actually said, "Hey, I'm putting you in jail because you affected the outcome of an election." So your seat is winnable by a Republican. And no one really looks at Carl as a squishy Republican. That guy's extremely vocal. So if you're listening, you're thinking to yourself, "Hey, Jim sounds great, but is this district winnable?" Yes, the answer is absolutely right. Yep. Am I wrong on any of that, Jim?
No, Michael, you are spot on. First of all, let me say the website is DeBelloCongress.com. I encourage all your listeners to go to the website. I'd appreciate that. Part of my favorite part of that website is DonateToJim.com. But let me tell you about the race. Carl lost by just under 3 percentage points. Very close, and frankly, he would have won without the smear campaign 3 cycles ago. There haven't been a strong competitor since then. The last one, I think, was based out of L.A., and I don't know why that person was endorsed. I am from San Diego. I'm a lifelong San Diegan. I've run businesses here. I've created high-paying jobs here. This is a winnable race. We are 33% of the district non-party preferred. These are disaffected Republicans and Democrats who don't like the rancor, don't like the partisanship, don't like the bickering that's happening in Washington. I appeal to them because of my business instincts and training, because of my international views, because I lived abroad. I actually ran a company in China, and I have strong opinions as a China hawk about China. And this is an opportunity to win back this district. I'll go further. This district also has nearly 20% Asian Americans who are hardworking Americans who have, through meritocracy, earned their right to go to the best colleges, to build their businesses, to help this country grow. They are completely fed up with Sacramento, which I call the laboratory of the left, particularly with Proposition 16, which talks about reintroducing affirmative action into our Constitution, which would disadvantage the Asian Americans. Plus, we'll talk about AB 5 later on, Mike, if you want to. But I'll tell you, I think we have a very winnable situation here with a complacent opponent, with a strong appeal to the non-party preferred, and a strong Republican base that I think we're going to pull out that vote. Despite the fact that California is so left-leaning, people will come out and vote R. And we have seen that with Mike Garcia, who won in the 25th district in a special election in May. He's a Republican.
Up north, north of L.A., right? The Calabasas area? Yeah.
Exactly right. L.A. County. Can you believe that?
Yeah.
So if Mike can do it, Jim DeBello can do it in the 52nd. I do need everyone's support and help, but we're making great progress.
All right. Well, Jim, how do we keep the ballots clean and the voting clean? Because, it's the only thing where you don't have to show an ID. I mean, if you went to the Democratic Party convention, you had to show an ID.
Well, Michael, this is really interesting. I am known for co-inventing a product you may use called mobile check deposit. It's a product that allows you to photograph your personal check and deposit it in your bank. 80 million Americans use it, and all the banks in the country have deployed it. In addition, I also took the company in the area of ID verification, passports as well as driver's licenses, and became a global company that did this around the world. And we are one of the few states, there are 30 others, that use ID verification. We don't here in California. Even Mexico has ID verification for voting, believe it or not. So I think that that's a real gap in our system to provide the integrity of our elections. Now, what you talk about is this mass mailing ballot situation. Mm-hmm. Prior to this, 70% of San Diegans voted by absentee ballot. And I like absentee ballots. If you, through an affidavit, sign a card that requests a ballot, they confirm your signature visually, they send you the ballot. Then you mail it and it's counted and part of the returns on the date of the election. That's the way it ought to be done. We're obviously going to different procedures this year because of COVID. So everybody who has ever been registered gets a ballot. There's where it's fraught with risk because it's not controlled. There's no chain of custody. And I know the registrar voters around the state are scrambling to try to figure out how to maintain not only the integrity of those votes, but also reasonably how quickly they can count them. So we're not waiting until late November before we know who wins. One way you could do that is through photographic imagery, through your smartphone, just like we did with an ID to verify it, or just like we do with checks to deposit them. You can take a picture of that ballot, have a record of it, and that way at least have a record of where it's been and if it's been actually submitted and ultimately counted. So I think there are ways we can provide protections, but they're not implemented now, and I am truly worried about it like you are.
I mean, because we can't get it done between now and Election Day, can we?
Well, now we're down to, ballots get out October 5th, so I don't know if that's going to be possible now.
Yeah. And I think that's what they're planning on the other side. I seriously believe it. I think when you're that blatant about not wanting to do verification, that's got to tell you something.
Well, I have Democrats for DeBella as well as the Republican base and our appeals to the non-party preferred. One of the Democrats for DeBella was a former state senator who I've known since I was a child, and we grew up together, basically. And so he's supporting me, and he said, Jim, I am still getting ballots and information from the registrar from my deceased father who died 2 years ago.
Great.
So, I'm very troubled by this.
So we've talked about you're a competent, knowledgeable candidate. We've talked about how horrible your opponent is and that your district is winnable. So let's talk about, gun owners helping you. People in your district, people outside of your district who care about the Second Amendment. Let's talk about them helping your campaign. So where are you on guns? Tell us what are your views on Second Amendment? Give us some of your gun views.
I'm totally supportive, and let me tell you where I come from. This is interesting. I'm born and bred here in San Diego. My dad was a member of the FBI. I grew up with a signed autograph photo of J. Edgar Hoover in the study in my home, and was proud of that. And my dad left the Bureau. He was originally trained in Quantico, first assignment in Montana, and then came out to L.A. as a special agent. Left the Bureau to join Fred Rohr at Rohr Corporation here in Chula Vista, and that's why I was born at Grossmont Hospital. So I have law enforcement in my background. My wife and my father-in-law. My father-in-law was part of LAPD. So I, again, am very strongly supportive of the men and women in blue, our thin blue line. I am for funding our police, not defunding it. And I certainly support Second Amendment rights very strongly. It is our Constitution. It is our Bill of Rights, and we should support it. We sign and we say an oath to the office to protect our Constitution, and I am all in on that one. So there is no wavering on that.
So Chris Wallace for Fox News, right? Chris Wallace is on phone. Not Mike.
No,
Chris
Mike's dead.
Mike's the dad.
So Chris Wallace, last week, I believe, there was a quote of him saying, hey, everybody is trying to paint Biden as an anti-Second Amendment person, but that's just not true. All he wants to do is he wants to ban weapons of war, meaning AR-15s, meaning he wants to renew the assault weapons ban. So he's actually separating or basically outright saying that, AR-15 semi-automatic rifles that have a magazine, like AR-15 pattern rifles aren't protected by the Second Amendment. What's your opinion of what Wallace said?
Well, they're trying to slice and dice this thing up, right? And I've heard weapons of war now twice. And again, my opponent has used that. So evidently that's the memo from the Democratic Party, to use that to scare people. And we're having carve-outs, right? And slicing and dicing, and it's bad policy. It's bad policy, and it's contrary to the Second Amendment. And it's very similar, if I may add, to what's happening with AB 5. That, of course, is the gig worker situation where a lot of freelancers and independent contractors are out of work. So now there are 50 carve-outs in that legislation to allow certain industries to get back to work and certain independent contractors to actually regain their jobs, but not all of them. So everyone is fighting. Bad policy that has tried to thread the needle is wrong. And I think what they're trying to do is walk back their extreme views, try to appeal to the middle, which they're not. And ultimately, I think if they prevail, we're going to lose the Second Amendment rights. So any gun is protected through the Second Amendment rights. What I like about the San Diego Gun Owners is that you have a very strong outreach into domestic abuse and to informing and equipping women to defend themselves appropriately.
Yeah, you're talking about our Not Me SD program where we
Not Me SD. I think it's brilliant. And, this is the way we handle some of the gun violence that happens in America. Now, it's regrettable. We all think it's regrettable. But a large percentage, the largest percentage of gun incidents in America are either suicides or domestic abuse.
Yeah.
So, by banning what they call weapons of war, because they're classifying broadly weapons that have been illegal in America.
Totally disingenuous.
It's wrong.
Yeah.
It's
All right.
disingenuous. It's wrong.
All right, Jim, we're going to have to let you get your own radio show because we have to leave, take a break, and continue on. But you're always welcome back. You're a bright light in a dark corner and not being corrective. But this is Dave Stahl for Gun Owners Radio on FM 96.1, AM 1170.
The Answer.
All right, folks, welcome back. You're listening to Gun Owners Radio on FM 96.1, AM 1170.
The Answer.
Hey, don't forget, if you go to San Diego or SDCGO.org, you can see us on Facebook. We're not only are we rocking here in San Diego, but San Bernardino, Riverside,
Orange.
Yep. We are all over the place. Yep. So make sure you tune in and subscribe to everything we do. And don't forget to join any one of those fantastic groups. Just go to their website. I think they're all about, $10 a month?
Yep, $10 a month.
How bad could that be? Hey, folks, this segment is sponsored by the Gun Range San Diego, the best shop and range in town. Are you a new gun owner, an experienced gun owner, or somewhere in between? Well, check out the Gun Range San Diego on Balboa. Great customer service, fantastic staff, all the latest inventory, and they are really a great group of folks. I call them the Nordstroms of gun ranges, just not the Nordstrom price, just the Nordstrom service. Sunday through Thursday, 10 to 7, 10 to 10 on Friday and Saturday. Give them a call, 858-573-1911, or just go to thegunrangesandiego.com. All right, we got our good buddy on the line. Hey, Jason, how's it going?
Hey, I'm fine, Dave. How you doing? Everybody keeping cool?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
We don't have air conditioning in the palace today, but I've got a fan, and it's right on Michael.
Yeah, it's hot. I'm hot.
Yep.
Yeah, we're lucky. We're blessed to have AC here right now.
Even on the range?
I'm glad you're keeping cool.
Even on the range?
I ducked in there, and I'm pretty sure it's just I'm pretty sure it's actually just Death Valley in there. So we're just making sure everybody's hydrated and all that good stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, we were there. We did our shooting social there. It was a women's-only shooting social yesterday, and it was gangbusters. It was so much fun. Yeah, Casey was there opening the door for us and opening the range for us. But I think we had 12 or 13 women, almost all of them brand new shooters. And
cool.
Boy, what a great time. It was awesome. You guys do a really good job. Those private... you can. I don't know if anybody listening knows this, but you can actually have a private event at the Gun Range San Diego. They'll open up the doors early for you. You have full run of the place. You guys had Jake out there as our RSO, making sure everybody was safe. Fantastic time. We do that fairly often with our shooting socials. But you can do it for what, birthdays or.
Any of that stuff. You just need to call us and kind of schedule it, a good amount in advance, and we'll always work something out.
Yeah,
that's awesome. Yeah, because again, getting to get. I think the socials are really those have become very popular. Correct?
Real popular. We had one scheduled a couple months ago now. We had one scheduled. The person who scheduled it said, you know what, I can't quite pull it together like I thought I could. So we decided, hey, you know what, just put an email out and see if anybody wants to go. And boom, we had a waiting list.
Funny thing.
Yeah. So, but any new shooters if you know somebody that needs to have a first-time shooting experience.
Well, what happens at the social? Tell the folks what they expect when they get. Some people may not know, and they're afraid to even call.
Yep. So yesterday at the gun range San Diego, everybody showed up. We went over a safety briefing. You don't have to have a gun. You don't have to have ammo. You don't have to. All you do is show up and we'll provide everything for you. Eye and ear protection. We have targets. And then we pair you up with somebody who's experienced. You go out on the range.
And the guns come out of the gun range San Diego.
Use their rental fleet sometimes, and sometimes the mentors bring their own firearm that they're familiar with. Okay. And 50 rounds of 9mm or 22, depending on what they'd like. And $50 is all it covers. Wow. Or is all it is, and it covers everything.
Wow.
So it's a lot of fun. Yep. And you guys do a great job. You guys, I swear, take care of everybody. It feels like you're at a resort. They're so accommodating and friendly and helpful.
Yeah, we try real hard for that.
Yeah.
Well, I just wanted to bring that up because somebody asked me the other day that he heard us talking about a social, and he goes, "Well, what is that? I mean, do they have ice cream?
Ice cream social,
We should add, Jason. You guys should get an ice cream maker in there. I think that's a great idea.
Yeah.
We'll add ice cream.
I'm afraid if I did that, all the employees would be eating it all up.
I was going to say, Jason.
I'd be one of them.
I was going to say, Jason, you do need another job, right?
Oh, I got gigs already. I'm fine.
Yeah, you can make ice cream. Put the salt in there and crank that thing around.
I don't even want to know what. I don't even want to know what Casey would do with an ice cream.
I don't either.
Keep that guy away from that.
Yeah, he needs to stay away from anything when it's food.
Yeah,
but
that boy needs to be in a cage.
Well, you know what though? As much as hey Jason, as much as I like ice cream, I got a quick gun question for you. Because you guys rep Uberti, right? Because I think I bought my 1873 lever gun from you guys a couple of years ago, and I was looking at the handguns that they do as well, like the single action handguns.
The revolvers.
Yeah, and you rep those as well, right? Because I was looking at
I used to have a couple.
Okay, good. Yeah, I was looking at the Rooster Shooter, I guess, which is it's a single action. Okay, and those are good here too, because I was thinking, gee, is that a roster gun? But I don't think that it matters.
So it's exempt. Oh no, it's exempt. As long as the barrel's over 3 inches long, it's an exempt. It's exempt if it's a single action revolver. Yeah, the Rooster Shooter from John Wayne and True Grit. Oh yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Because I saw one of those today.
Wait a minute.
That looked really nice.
I didn't know the barrel length could exempt a firearm.
Oh no, it's the fact that it's a single action. I think the barrel length on a single action handgun has to be over. I think it's over 3 inches or 2 inches. But it's a single action. Any single action revolver, 95% of them are exempt. So those are totally cool.
Yeah, I don't know. I've seen John Wayne fire off quite a few bullets with that single action. I thought that was pretty cool.
That is cool.
Is that TV?
Tell you about our inventory.
What do you got?
Yeah. Well, we got. We are getting a lot more Glocks, Springfield XDs, a lot more really good Springfield 1911s, my personal favorite, in here, and the stuff is still going as fast as it was before. So this is a great time to keep calling us and asking if we have guns, or just pay us a visit. We'll always tell you what we know. But yeah, we got no less than 30, 40 pistols over the last week. They're all gone.
What about ammo?
Ammo, still having a little problem with ammo, but it's always kind of on its way. You know what I mean? We don't know exactly when it's coming in, but when it does come in, it goes quick. So definitely give us a call, come by, just ask about our ammo situation, and we'll definitely help you out the best we can.
So when you say it goes quick, is that because you post it on Facebook?
We don't with ammo. We don't typically post it. With pistols, we do.
Yeah, because I see all your pistols. I just didn't see ammo, but these people out there must have a sixth sense to know when the truck shows up.
It's like the cows facing north or something. I don't know, but it's something in the air. I don't know what it is. We also got some cool consignment guns in too. We I don't know if you're familiar with the Glock 41 and the 43, but they're both off-roster pistols, but they're consigned in here. Some gentleman is privately selling them through us that makes it legal for the first people to come by and grab them.
A 43 on consignment, that's going to go. If you want a 43, don't walk to the gun range San Diego right now, because that is an extremely popular pistol.
Yeah, because Michael Schwartz will be stuck here for another hour, so you'll have an opportunity.
Here's your head start. How much are you allowed to talk about the price? How much do they want for the consignment 43?
I can't talk about the price, but I will say that it is worth having one of those. For listeners who don't know, it's an off-roster pistol, which means it's not. You can't purchase it from a store in California. You have to buy it from a private seller, and a consignment in a store counts as a private party transfer, just done through a store.
What makes it so exciting that Michael Schwartz actually sat up in his chair?
Yeah.
It's a subcompact 9mm pistol. It's a very slim 6 or 7 round, depending on the magazine, pistol by Glock. It's just a very, very good example. For listeners who are familiar with the Glock 26, the Glock 43 think of it as a 26, but with maybe a third of the width shaved off. It's very comfortable. It's very comfortable to carry, very comfortable to shoot. So that's typically everybody's first choice when it comes to a concealed pistol. So that is going to go very fast.
Yeah, we're so limited.
Yeah, look at that.
Yeah, we're so limited in what we can get for concealed carry. Finding a 43 for sale is,
that's a diamond in the rough.
Yeah,
it really is.
That's a sweetheart.
For people who want to shoot, really like competition, that kind of thing, or you just want a really good shooter, the Glock 41 is a long slide Glock 21. So it's a 45 with a 5 1/4 inch barrel, super, super low recoil, super good shooter. That's going to be a really pleasant shooter for somebody. Someone's going to like it.
All right. So you're there till 10 o'clock tonight?
Till 7. Tonight it's 7.
Really?
7 tonight.
Oh, okay.
You better get in your car. Hurry up and go down there if you want that 43.
Yeah, someone's going to show up in the next 10, 15 minutes, and
Yeah, I know.
So come on over.
Didn't you say you had something else on consignment as well, or just that one?
You know what? We also have a Walther P38, built October 1961. So it's a very clean, one of the nicest examples. I'm a big fan of the older guns. Built October 1961, really clean Walther P38. It's a really cool collectible.
Isn't that a James Bond gun?
It's in one of the older movies with Roger Moore from the 70s. I don't know which one.
Yeah.
But it's that era. The P1 and the P38. End of World War II up to about 19. I think they stopped making them in 1970. You can see where Beretta got the idea for that sort of locked barrel deal from that pistol. But really cool, really classy gun.
All right, buddy. Well, hey, thank you very much for taking time out of your Sunday. Now get back to work. And we don't want to see you buying that Walther P.
No, man.
I know you think you want to. All right, folks, we're going to take a small break. You're listening to Gun Owners Radio. We still got another hour coming up right here on FM 96.1, AM 1170.
The Answer.
Welcome back to Hour 2 of Gun Owners Radio with your hosts, Dave Stahl, Joe Germisi, and Michael Schwartz. Visit gunownersradio.com with your questions and comments, or to learn how to become a sponsor of the show. Time to get involved and get active. Together, we will win. Now here's Dave, Joe, and Michael on The Answer San Diego.
All right, folks, welcome back. This is Gun Owners Radio, and this is FM 96.1, AM 1170.
The Answer.
This is episode 213. Did you know that when you wrote that?
Yeah, lucky number 213.
Wow. Hey, self-defense and emergencies can happen to anyone. And unfortunately, the justice system may not be on your side. While you protect your family and property, U.S. Law Shield is here to defend you 24/7, 365 days a year, with comprehensive self-defense coverage at an affordable price. Bad guys don't take days off, and neither does our coverage. Get a plan from U.S. Law Shield. Check them out today at uslawshield.com, uslawshield.com. All right, we got Joe Germisi in the house. He's been kind of quiet all afternoon, so I think it's because he's all ready to talk about duty to act, and that's on Kyle Rittenhouse and Kenosha.
So yeah, saving up for my my big moment here.
Your big moment.
So what we wrote about this week, and what we're going to talk about here is a young guy named Kyle Rittenhouse and the thing that happened in Kenosha a week or so ago. And for those that haven't seen that, there may be one or two that aren't familiar with it. Kyle Rittenhouse was a 17-year-old who was part of a group that had gone to Kenosha during the rioting back there last week, and with the intent of helping to protect property and lives, and maybe helping with some first aid if it was needed. And he was there with a group, and they were there actually. They were responding to a request from a businessman who had his business damaged and partially destroyed, and was pleading with if people could come out and help him try to protect it. And he was part of that group, and had gone out there, and he had gotten separated from his group by something that was going on. And as he was trying to make his way back to where his group was, the police had moved in and they were doing some activity, so he couldn't go back up the street the way he came. When that happened, some of the rioters that recognized him as one of the people that was standing in front of the building confronted him and started chasing him. And one of the guys, and you have to remember, this is a 17-year-old kid. If you look at him, he's a very typical looking 17-year-old kid. Mm-hmm. And one of the guys chased him. They cornered him. He couldn't get away. And when the guy reached for his gun to try to take Kyle's rifle away, because Kyle was armed, Kyle shot him. He ran from there down the street again. The rioters chased him. He ended up on the ground. They were stomping him and again grabbing for the rifle, and he shot two more of them. So the three he shot, two were killed and one was wounded. So that was the thing that happened. So after that, and there's lots of video on this, he went and tried to turn himself into the police. The police didn't really realize what was going on. They were responding to something else, so they ended up driving right past him. So eventually, he was arrested and charged for this. So there's a million opinions on this, and I'm not going to address all the, should he have even been there? Was it self-defense? Was it not self-defense? Why was a 17-year-old kid there, in the first place? What I was looking at is two other questions, or two bigger questions, I think. The first question that I wanted to look at, or that I addressed in the article, is, why is it now that that citizens are put in the position where citizens now have to defend communities, businesses, properties, themselves, their neighbors? Why do citizens now have to do the job that really police should be doing? And, my intent here was to get people to think about this. I don't want to provide an answer. I provide my opinion or my thoughts on the answer. But the intent is really to get people to think about this. And, one answer, if I look at my opinion, one answer is that we have politicians and leaders now that absolutely refuse to do what they're supposed to be doing. One of the things, like Jim DeBello, and we had the other politician we talked to last week, both said the same thing. We swear, we take an oath of office, and we take that very seriously. And most of these politicians couldn't care less about the oath of office that they swear to. One of the things they're supposed to be doing is protecting people and citizens, and that's what the police do. And the police, I think, are fine, would really want to do that, but they're being held back by these politicians for different political reasons. So my first question is, why do citizens have to be in that position in the first place? The second, probably bigger question with that is, at what point do each of us have a responsibility to get involved, to step up, to defend ourselves, to defend our community, to defend our neighbors? Do we even have that? Does that point ever even come, or do we have no responsibility to do that? When we talked about this last week, one of the guests we had on here, I think John Correa, mentioned that, and I respect John for a million different things and his opinion and everything. John's great. But John was pointing out, the example of the Koreans during the LA riots in the 90s, the Korean shopkeepers defending their shops and things. And John pointed out that, one of the things there was they were defending their own properties. A lot of those people lived in apartments above the shops. So, the pictures of them up there with guns and everything defending their property was a little bit different. And my question then is, okay, at what point, and like I said, is there even a point, do we have an obligation to step up and defend our neighbors? For instance, when the mob comes to your community and they're setting your neighbor's house on fire, do you have any obligation to get involved and, assume some personal risk and try to help? Or do you stand there and just watch that? And then conversely, do you expect your neighbor, when the mob comes to burn your house down, does your neighbor stand over there and just watch? Or does your neighbor have a duty or an obligation as an adult, as an American, as an armed citizen to step in and try to help? So those are kind of the two questions that I wanted to address. And it's interesting because we all, especially those of us that are armed, that, are armed, legally armed citizens, we're always taught the mantra, I guess, the rules of stupid. I think John may have mentioned those too. You don't go to stupid places with stupid people and do stupid things at stupid times. Going to a riot to try to help could probably violate at least 3 or maybe all 4 of those things. So, we're always taught to, okay, you do everything you can do to avoid situations like that as an armed citizen. So is there a point where you assume some personal risk and say, okay, I know this could go badly, but I have a responsibility. I need to do something. So that was kind of the question I wanted to look at. And there's probably a whole bunch of answers to that. And all those answers are different for everyone. But what I left it with at the end of the article was, when you ask those questions, what kind of country really do we want to live in? Because that's kind of the bigger part, or the bigger question that comes up. We get the kind of government that we want. We elect these people. We put them in office. We keep them in office. Sometimes really bad people, as you can see what we have in California, for instance. And, we get the kind of country that we want. So if we want a kind of country where, okay, we have no obligation to help our neighbors, to help our community, to take no risks, then okay, we get what we get, but we can't complain about that.
And there are a couple different, it was an excellent article, by the way, Joe. Everything you do is fantastic, but this one in particular I really enjoyed. I liked it so much, I actually read it out loud to my wife. I read it and said, wow, this is really good, and read it out loud to my wife. She enjoyed it. We shared it too, but why don't we have a discussion about it and talk a little bit about in the next segment, talk a little bit about some of the questions and maybe go over a couple of different categories and just have a little discussion on that.
Sure, sounds great. Let's go ahead and take a quick break. Give us some extra time. This is Gun Owners Radio on FM 96.1, AM 1170.
The Answer.
There's more Gun Owners Radio with Dave, Joe, and Michael to come on The Answer San Diego.
All right, folks, welcome back to Gun Owners Radio on FM 96.1, AM 1170.
The Answer.
PRMI Mortgage, PRMIRes.com/Alpine. You need to check these guys out. Home mortgage interest rates have dropped, and if you're looking to buy a refi, or even if you're considering a reverse mortgage, you need to call an expert. Call our local mortgage guy that you can trust. Call Chris Wiley at PRMI Mortgage. For nearly 25 years, Chris has been helping local San Diegans with all their mortgage needs. Call Chris Wiley at 619-722-1303, or just go to PrimeRes.com/Alpine. All right, so we're going to sort of continue with this conversation about our 17-year-old son that was gotten himself into a sticky wicket.
Sticky wicket. Yeah, Joe Dramisi wrote a fantastic blog on Kyle Rittenhouse and what happened with Kenosha a couple weeks ago. And the question he was asking was, what duty do we have to help our neighbors? What kind of country do we really want to live in? And I think that there's a lot of different ways to look at that. Do we have an obligation to help our neighbor? Do we have an obligation legally? Do we have an obligation morally? Legally, there's no legal obligation, obviously. In fact, the way the laws are structured, I would say that legally it's relatively tough.
You don't even get involved.
Yeah, it's tough to help your neighbor.
Yeah.
Well, see, and that's exactly the point, though, because we've made it now so that you're discouraged from stepping up and trying to help anyone, because you are going to pay. You're going to be viewed as the bad guy, essentially, if you have to do something like that, just like this Rittenhouse kid is.
My situation is, again, if I was Rittenhouse, why would I take a gun to a riot if I really want to go there and help people medically? Because he had a medical bag. I get it. I understand that. But when you're carrying an AR, to me, that's just putting fuel on the fire.
Well, he'd be dead without it. But he was right to have it.
Well,
right?
I understand, but would they have attacked, and I'm being the devil's advocate here.
Yeah.
But would they have attacked him if he didn't have that rifle?
Well, what they were upset about was that he had the nerve to stand in front of that building with his friends and defend that building.
Right.
Actually, there was a little bit more to it. They set fire to a dumpster. It was literally a dumpster fire. They set fire to a dumpster, the rioters. This thing started out as a protest, by the way,
right.
And it turned into a riot. And they turned it into a riot. They made the decision, the protesters, to turn this thing into a riot. So they lit this dumpster on fire. This kid Kyle got a hold of a fire extinguisher, ran it over, and helped put this fire out. And that's what the first person that he had to defend himself against, there was already video of him all riled up. Not just agitated, but screaming, yelling, being extremely aggressive. And then when he helped put this dumpster fire out, that's what apparently, from what I've read, set him off. But there are good Samaritan laws. If for example, if you help somebody who's choking and you do
the Heimlich maneuver,
and you break a rib, or something like that, you're not going to go to jail. There are good Samaritan laws, but they don't really extend to that type of defense. When you're defending somebody, it makes it relatively tough. But a lot of people who aren't real supportive of the Second Amendment say, "Hey, we don't need you don't need a Second Amendment because you have the military. The military's there. You have the National Guard. Right. They're there." And our point has always been, but what if that breaks down? And this is a slightly different situation, but it is an instance where law enforcement broke down. The people wouldn't be showing up at protests with firearms, standing in front of property, if the protesters didn't turn into violent rioters and burn down Minnesota or Minneapolis.
Well, exactly.
And burn down La Mesa and burn down Atlanta.
Well, and the idea of the firearm too is as a deterrent. You would think that, I don't know, you can't call them rational people that are there rioting anyway, but you would think, okay, people, you see someone standing there with a rifle, you're not going to go do what you were going to do. And there was a great example of that was in Coeur d'Alene a couple of months ago when the Antifa guys from Spokane, I think is where they were from.
They showed up in buses,
the idea.
Or vans.
And the people in Coeur d'Alene armed up, and they were all over the place out there. And the Antifa guys showed up, but nothing happened.
Right.
And you could say at least part of that was because, they saw armed citizens standing around in front of every place.
Well, and they're actually at the night after La Mesa, the rioters were headed towards Santee, and there are credible reports that some of the citizens who were not open carrying firearms, so a lot of them were armed, but the citizens who protected the businesses in Santee stopped some of the rioters, some of the people that were going to loot and tear up the building. They've been effective in a positive way, but none of this would be happening. I'm seeing reports from NBC and MSNBC and some of the usual suspects that are totally, total bias, total media bias, just fake news, horrible.
Totally.
And their whole thing is, in whatever, 80% of the protests, armed militias have shown up.
Right.
Well,
they call Rittenhouse. They call Rittenhouse, a Trump supporter.
Well, see, and that's exactly what you see. They're always armed militias. They're always right-wing extremists or Trump supporters.
But why aren't they immortalizing those two guys that were killed, like they do Floyd and everybody else? Have you noticed that's kind of odd that they haven't made a big deal out of those two individuals that were killed?
Well, yeah, I could speculate as to why that is. But, there's certain groups of people are more martyr-type material than other groups of people are.
I was surprised by that.
I do draw a clear line. This was a child. Until your 18th birthday, you're a child.
I agree.
And I think it was, I don't know the law well enough. I don't know if they actually broke a law by allowing him to do this. But
we'll find out.
Those parents, I don't know how, unless he did it behind their back.
Would you let your son?
Hell no. I think it's extremely irresponsible. A 17-year-old child, I don't care what, shouldn't really, shouldn't have been there. Should not have been there. But but the reason I say that is I don't want people to confuse that with the point that Joe's trying to make. So forget that, that it's Kyle, forget that he's 17. The point Joe's trying to make and really the discussion he wants to have is, hey, do we just sit in our houses and let this all burn? And
no.
Especially in La Mesa, some of the officials in La Mesa made the decision to, hey, let them damage a certain portion of the city, just try to contain.
Yeah.
From my understanding is they were actually offered more law enforcement from neighboring El Cajon and turned it down.
Sure.
Which is an enormous mistake.
Totally.
So do we say, hey, look, we're just going to put all our faith in our elected officials and the police department? Or at some point, do we say, hey, you know what, we have to step in and stop. We have to go over to our neighbor's house to stop this before it gets to our house.
Well, and you get to that. I mean, that exact question. Apparently, Kyle Rittenhouse made that assessment and decided that he had an obligation and he was going to join with this group to try to help this businessman and to try to do some good. His intent was if we can protect property and lives, great. He had some first aid training. He wanted to do that if the need came up. And, he and I'm assuming his parents made the decision and, okay, there's going to be some risk here, certainly. And, and it turned out the way it turned out. But they made the decision that, okay, this is worthwhile. This is something that we should do. It's important. And that's kind of the question is, at what point do we get to make that decision? And, it's probably different for everybody. But, some people were saying, well, he shouldn't have been there. He didn't live in Kenosha. He lived 30 minutes away. But 2 of the 3 thugs that he shot lived at least 30 minutes away. And I didn't see about the third guy. I didn't see information on him. But at least 2 of the guys lived at least as far away. And where Rittenhouse went there with the intent of trying to do good and help people, these other 2 guys went there clearly with the intent to do damage and to do harm and to hurt people.
Well, and there is an important point or distinction that should be made regarding the firearm and the purpose of the firearm. He was not carrying and using that firearm to defend property. He was defending property, but the firearm was to defend himself. So, so why is that an important difference? He didn't shoot somebody who was, attempting to or damaging property. He shot somebody who was attempting to kill him.
No, and an important point there, too. I mean, as a 17-year-old, a tremendous amount of mindset and judgment there because he shot only the people that were actually attacking him.
Yeah.
He didn't randomly just start shooting and spraying the crowd. He shot the 3 people that were actually physically attacking him, which is huge for anybody to keep that kind of mind.
And at the time they were attacking him, the third person he shot was holding a gun.
Was going to shoot him.
Well, was attacking him. He shot the second person. That third person paused. Kyle paused. And it looked like, he wasn't going to have to defend himself. And then the third person started attacking him again. And that's when he shot and stopped the attack. And by the way, that third person, real quick, he shot him once. He stopped attacking, and he didn't shoot him again.
Right.
So he was shooting to stop the attack, which is legal.
That's because if he would have put
crucial
20 rounds in him, then
we would have a different conversation.
So we just had a person listening to the show. He says, I will defend my house, my neighbors, but I would never go to a business not in California to protect it. Which is a point. Which is a good point.
You know, and I don't know if John, I don't know if you agree with me. There's not an answer to the questions here. Everyone's in a different situation.
I think it's a personal answer for everybody. I don't think there's one blanket answer, but it gets around to the bigger question as what kind of country do we want to live in?
Right.
Do we want to live in a country where most people will step up and help a neighbor if they see something like that, or most people are going to mind their own business and not take any personal risk? You know, that's kind of the bigger issue or the bigger question. And I don't have an answer for that, but like I said, each individual is a little bit different. Everybody's got to figure out what they would do, but it's worth thinking about.
It is worth thinking about. I don't think, I think if we're going to have an age of majority, I don't think that a 17-year-old even gets to ask that question.
I don't think so either.
Honestly, I think the parents, I don't know what consequences they'd face. I don't know what those specifics are there, but everyone else, everyone else that was there who was 18 and over, I don't have a problem with people making the decision to go help their neighbor and go diffuse, and defend and that sort of thing. I think it's something that everybody needs to, do on their own and make their own decision. But
so if he waited 3 or 4 months or whenever his birthday comes up, he'd have been good.
Yes. You know what I mean? Like, yes. Or we need to get rid of the age of majority. One of the two. You know what I mean? Either have it or we don't have it.
Right.
But, it's there.
Well, this is going to be an interesting court case. It'll be interesting to see how this all comes out because there's a few unknowns. And
Yeah, unfortunately, a lot of top legal people stepped up to get involved, so he's going to have a very good legal team
he'll
defending
have good
him.
representation.
He's going to have money.
He's going to get off. He's not the murder charge. He's going to get off. You heard it here first.
I think you're exactly right. All right, hey, let's take a quick break. You folks are listening to Gun Owners Radio on FM 96.1, AM 1170.
The Answer.
Welcome back to Gun Owners Radio, educating you on your Second Amendment right. Now, here are your hosts of Gun Owners Radio, Dave Stahl, Joe Germisi, and Michael Schwartz on The Answer San Diego.
All right, folks, welcome back to Gun Owners Radio, right here on FM 96.1, AM 1170.
The Answer.
All right, hey, thousands of new gun buyers just found out what San Diego gun owners have already known. A.O. Sword Firearms in El Cajon has the widest selection of guns in the county. Hundreds of new and used guns in stock and everything you could want for an AR-15. A.O. Sword is also a professional gunsmith with a full machine shop for cleaning, repairs, upgrades, customization, even Cerakote. Check out A.O. Sword on Facebook or on aosword.com. Right now we have our expert on the line, David Chong. How you doing, buddy?
Oh, I'm all right, thank you. Glad to be in some air conditioning, and my heart goes out to folks who do not have that. I understand you guys are under fans.
Well, we had a fan, but now Michael Schwartz
I have a fan.
Took the fan, so we do not have a fan. Mr. Schwartz is over there looking all chilled. And by the way, I just want to thank you, Dave. I know you've seen the fires out in East County, and you were gracious enough to offer any and all support necessary. You have a horse corral that's not being used, and that was stellar. And I wanted to thank you on air for stepping to the plate.
That's good job. That's awesome.
Absolutely, David. Yeah. We stand ready to help any livestock that needs a place to evacuate to, and then also at the store. If anybody needs to store their guns, no charge. We'll put your guns in safe storage for as long as you need.
It's not like you don't have any safes.
We got some safes. Yeah.
I couldn't help myself. All right. So what are we talking about today?
Well, we started a conversation last week, and don't mean to add, panic in a time of panic already, but this is really a problem that nobody's paying attention to, and that is we know that our gun rights are under attack through legislation and politics. What we're not paying attention to is that we're also under economic attack. And I don't mean just, gun sales were slow during the Trump slump. I mean, people do not understand, there is a concerted, money-backed effort to infiltrate the investment groups of major gun manufacturers and actually destroy them from the inside out. As evidence of this, it's not a conspiracy theory. In 2018, there were radical shareholder votes backed by this anti-gun money in both Ruger as well as Smith & Wesson shareholders, calling for internal investigations within both companies to determine how their products contribute to gun violence and deaths in schools. It was very, very politically charged language in these gun company shareholder motions. Both companies are supposed to, indebted to their shareholders, perform internal investigations and figure out new controls and new ways to stop the spread of gun violence.
So the idea is, I believe Smith & Wesson is publicly owned, right?
Correct.
So let's just talk about Smith & Wesson. So Smith & Wesson is publicly owned, meaning its shares are traded on the stock market. You can go buy shares. You can go be a partial owner of Smith & Wesson. And what you're saying is that enough people enough anti-gun people have purchased shares of Smith & Wesson that they now can pressure the company's leadership into pursuing policies that are,
destructive to their own business.
Interesting.
Isn't that that is mind-boggling.
They are stated goals. One is the Interfaith Center on Corporate Responsibility. Another one's, get this, the American Federation of Teachers, the union representing 1.7 million educators and others, also been pushing for this. Avery Gardner, the co-president of the Brady campaign, says just 1 year ago it was unthinkable that shareholders would demand that gun manufacturers examine their own role in America's gun violence epidemic. And now it's happening. It's not just these specialized anti-gun groups. 13 institutional investors, including Cal STRS. You know what that is?
Mm-mm.
Yes, I do.
That's the state of California official public worker retirement program. So 13 institutional investors, Cal STRS and the Florida equivalent, have signed on to 5 principles for a, quote, responsible civilian firearms industry. These 13 investors represent $5 trillion in an investor coalition to pressure gun companies on safety measures by signing on to these 5 principles.
So, David,
$5 trillion in investor money.
Has the industry responded to this, or what's the industry response to this threat?
So even as you're listening to my voice, this is just all sounds A, crazy, and B, hard to comprehend. And so they are squealing, but nobody's listening. This is boring stuff. Nobody understands it. So I'm trying to break it down. The investors and management groups are rating our companies. The Colt, 1855. Remington, founded 1816. Let me try to walk you through some of this. Colt declared bankruptcy in 1992 and again in 1994. They were restructuring. And then in 2002, Science Capital bought them. And each time they got raided and fleeced for their funds, for their assets. They were sold off to make the balances. Assets were sold off to make the balance books look good because the positive cash flow is what investors like. But it left them in shambles. Remington has declared bankruptcy twice in the last 2 years. They're in the middle of bankruptcy now again, in the middle of the biggest gun sales in the history of the firearm. One of their major manufacturing plants was in New York. Guess what? Shut down because of COVID. And a very, very convenient gun control effort. They had another plant in Kentucky, but that was shut down as well. I'm sorry this is so much information, but there's a lot behind the curtain.
Well, and there's no way they can come back, correct?
It's pretty tough. We don't know what's going to happen to Remington at all. And by the way, they would take Marlin down with them.
Well, and what about
Marlin
these
was bought by the
investors?
Freedom Group.
Don't those investors then have a tendency to lose millions of dollars?
Well, no, because let's look at this. So, for example, Cerberus Capital Management bought Remington in 2007. They formed Freedom Group. Cerberus is the same illustrious management group that bought Chrysler and destroyed it in only 2 years. Chrysler was an American icon.
Right.
They're also the people that bought Toys R Us. Guess what happened to Toys R Us? They buy these companies and they fleece them. They take everything out in, get this. Oh, I need to look it up. Oh, so Science Capital, the guys who bought Colt in 2002, they right before they declared bankruptcy, they recorded $131 million in distributions and bonuses to the company officers and consultants. That's where the money's going.
They're like
so they walk away clean and fresh, enriched by destroying these companies.
Like
we're getting Wall Street rated.
The Richard Gere character in Pretty Woman.
Yeah,
like that.
Right before he has a change his part.
A Pretty Woman reference on a gun show, not bad.
And I can't believe that would be allowed in the United States. It's just mind-boggling.
What do you? Is there a solution, Dave?
Is there a solution?
What do you think, David? Is there a what could happen? I don't even know.
Well, first of all, I would say at the consumer level, you can double down on firearms manufacturers that are privately owned instead of investor owned. Investment group, privately owned companies cannot be swayed as heavily and quickly as investment groups. I'll give you another example of this: the corporate pressure and consumer pressure. Vista Outdoor owned a whole bunch of outdoor stuff, including Camelback and like lots of camping things. REI boycotted all of Vista Outdoor because they owned gun companies in that investment group. So Vista Outdoor languished and eventually sold off Savage, Federal, CCI last year because they were getting boycott. Their entire line of product was getting boycott because they had a gun company under their umbrella. It's happening over and over.
REI is terrible. They've been junk for decades now. They used to be such a good camping and outdoor store, and now it's just a bunch of, I'll
tell you something. Yeah.
If your name's Karen and you want to go buy a fleece,
hey,
jacket.
I bought my wife a rabbit fur hat so she could go outside with the dogs and not freeze her little ears off.
At REI?
Let me tell you one more
place I found one.
Yeah.
That on the consumer level, buy from the privately held companies. Don't give in to this or that CEO said something I don't exactly like, or 1911s are for FUDs or boomers. Invest in guns, and then also exercise your lawfully protected right not to pay into union dues that are investing those dues, your money, into anti-gun initiatives.
Yeah. So what you're saying is, if you work for if you're in an industry where being in a union is an option, just know that you're not required to pay those union dues. It's optional. Is that what we're saying?
By law. A lot of people don't understand that. That's new as of like a year ago.
Right.
Very important to understand that. I'm not bashing unions. What I'm saying is some union leadership invests that money specifically in things that you don't believe in.
I could tell you stories because I belonged to about 3 different unions in my lifetime, so I can tell you stories. All right. Well, David, it's are you open tomorrow?
We are no, we are not open tomorrow. See you on Tuesday.
See, I had to make you look twice. You weren't 100% sure. And
Labor Day.
And quit being
Enjoy
so
it.
busy. I stopped by Friday and the place was packed. Will you stop that?
No, well, I don't think it's going to stop for a while.
I don't think it is either. Well, have a great day off, my friend. Have a wonderful one.
Thank you.
Folks, we're going to take a break, and your favorite segment's coming up. Stump My Nephew, Sam the Gunman, on Gun Owners Radio, FM 96.1, AM 1170.
The Answer.
Folks, welcome back. You're listening to Gun Owners Radio on FM 96.1, AM 1170.
The Answer.
Welcome back, and don't forget, it's to thank our sponsors that we get to broadcast and bring you the best Second Amendment content in the nation. So please, right now, check out the websites of Attorney John Dillon, U.S. Law Shield, Firearms Legal Protection, the Gun Range San Diego on Balboa, A.O. Sword in El Cajon, PRMI Mortgage, and get yourself a Cali Key. That's K-A-L-I-K-E-Y. Need to find out more information about our sponsors? Go to gunownersradio.com. All right, so this is our most popular segment every week. You write in and ask a question of Sam the Gunman, and if we use your gun trivia question, we will send you a San Diego County Gun Owner shirt, which has scientifically been proven to improve your marksmanship.
That's true.
And if you stump Sam, then we will send you a shirt and a hat. So, without further ado, Sam the Gunman.
Ooh. Ah.
Hey, Sam. How's it going?
How are you guys?
Good, man. How are you?
I'm doing.
How's the weather back there? We're at about 110.
Yeah.
Well, it's been raining for about the past 10 days.
Send some to us, would you? Put it in a bucket.
Yeah, I don't know how expensive the shipping on that would be, but I heard your state's on fire again.
Yeah, and it got close to me again last night. So, yeah, it's never a dull moment.
Sorry to hear that. That's got to be scary.
It's more than you know, to the point where in fact, I don't even put my fireplace on anymore. I'm just not a fan of fire.
Yeah. It's pretty bad. I think they're going to get it out, though. They've been working hard.
Oh, yeah, they will.
All right. So, you ready for your question?
Yeah, let's have it.
All right. Laura from Santee writes, she wants to know what country invented and used the Famas, F-A-M-A-S.
Laura from Santee, thanks very much for the question. The short answer is France, until it was very recently replaced by a variant of the HK416. The long answer is really the answer to the question, why didn't France just use the M16 or something like that when they wanted to replace their MOS 4956s with something in 556. France has historically been very supportive of their small arms industry. They typically like developing their own, even heavy equipment like aircraft and armored vehicles. They typically like developing that indigenously for whatever reason, probably just to maintain that manufacturing capacity. And so they wanted to develop their own indigenous 5.56 millimeter assault rifle, and the result is the Famas.
I'm sorry, that's totally wrong. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, right.
Correct. Nice job.
As usual.
So tell people what exactly is a Famas. What's the configuration?
That was going to be my question.
Yeah, right.
It is a bullpup selective fire assault rifle in 5.56 NATO. It feeds from most versions feed from a proprietary 25-round box magazine, and it operates on a lever-delayed blowback system.
Yeah.
You knew that, didn't you?
Yeah, exactly right. It's amazing. Now, I heard that one of the important things that France wanted to make sure that you could successfully drop this rifle without breaking it, because that's a big requirement
when you're in the war.
Drop it and run.
No, you're not supposed to drop it.
It's a French rifle.
Yeah, it's a French rifle, right?
Oh, that's why.
Just in case Germany invades again, they want to be able to drop their rifle.
And then hit the road.
Biting social commentary from Mike Schwartz.
I suppose you don't think it's worthy of mention that the German army, the Bundeswehr, has historically one of the most punishing rifle drop tests of any military on the planet.
Why do you know that?
That's a fantastic question. I really wish I could give you an answer to that one, but that accounts for the renowned crappy trigger of the G3.
No. Well, okay. So how good was the Famas? I know they were recently replaced. Why were they replaced, and where is it on the on the spectrum of military rifles used in modern day? Where does the Famas land?
Well, by all accounts, it was absolutely adequate for what it was designed to do, but it really, there are a few things that it didn't. It was kind of lacking in terms of modern amenities. Most versions didn't take STANAG magazines like AR-15 pattern magazines, so they wanted to correct that for interoperability. It was very sensitive to different types of ammunition. It only liked steel-cased ammo. Again, bad for interoperability. And perhaps most importantly, it didn't have much accommodation for accessories and optics. And so they wanted something that they could mount all sorts of lights and grips and lasers and stuff like that on. And most importantly, they wanted to be able to use optics on infantry rifles. And so they figured the HK416 was a great option to replace their aging fleet of FAMASes. And in I think 2016, something like that, they started making the switch.
So the top of this bullpup, the Famas, it's like a big handle, right? It's not a rail.
It's a great big carry handle that acts to elevate the sights to a proper height and to protect the charging handle, because the charging handle is a trigger style like on early AR-10s.
And what did they switch to? An HK416?
Yeah, with a 12.5-inch barrel, as I recall.
That's a high-speed, AR configuration. And it's also, correct me if I'm wrong, piston, right? It's not
It is. It's basically just a piston-driven AR-15 with a few other improvements, like a different trigger mechanism and some stuff like that. It was designed by Heckler & Koch back in the 90s, I think, in collaboration with, I want to say Army Delta Force or something like that, because U.S. Special Forces wanted a more reliable, short-barreled AR-type rifle.
Yeah, no, I think I believe you're right. So if you enlist in the French army, they have an army? France still have an army? Joe, do you remember? Who knows, right? I do not know. Okay, so if you enlist in the French army, they're going to give you an H&K 416. That's their standard firearm?
I don't know if they have enough to equip their entire army yet, but
that's the idea.
If they haven't gotten to that point already, then they will soon, I'm sure.
Because that's a super nice firearm. That's a few thousand. How bourgeois of them to issue such a nice firearm. So anyway.
Yeah, it's not bad. And even if you're an American, you could always go join the French Foreign Legion.
We still have the French Foreign Legion?
Yeah, of course they do.
But that's only if you get stiffed by a young lady. That's the only reason you go there.
Or you're Jean-Luc Picard, or not Jean-Luc Picard. Who's the other guy?
Jean-Luc Picard.
He was in Starfleet.
I was going to say, that's guy. Star Wars.
Jean-Claude
Van Damme.
Yeah.
His movie where he joined the French Foreign Legion.
And so did Abbott and Costello.
I didn't know that.
You didn't know it?
No.
You haven't seen that one?
No.
Oh, from a different generation.
Oh, it's a great movie. Abbott and Costello joins the American Foreign Legion, something like that. It's wonderful. Yeah. All right, buddy. Hey, it's always great talking to you. And, gosh, you're just amazing. You need to write a book.
I am. I'm really impressed, Sam. Seriously, man. That was
because we do not prep him with any of these questions. Not one.
Nope.
Right?
That question, I honestly, everybody listening right now, I truly wonder what percentage of people, if I just threw out the, FAMAS,
yeah, if they knew what it was.
If they'd even heard of it, let alone, been able to talk about it as much as Sam just did. Yeah. Fantastic job, buddy.
Thanks,
job.
buddy. You're the best.
Well, that was a fun question. Lots to talk about. You guys have a good night.
All right, you too. All right, folks. Well, hey, I hope you've enjoyed these 2 hours as much as we've enjoyed giving it to you. And if you're a podcaster, make sure to listen to the first hour as well on our podcast and the second once it gets up. And don't forget to please support all our great sponsors. And when you go in and see the sponsors, just mention, hey, man, great show, Sunday, Gun Owners Radio. Thanks for supporting them. That's the Gun Range San Diego at thegunrangesandiego.com. Firearms Legal Protection at firearmslegal.com. San Diego County Gun Owners at SDCGO.org, $10 a month. How could you not afford it? U.S. Law Shield at uslawshield.com. Cali Key at KALIKEY.com. PRMI Mortgage at PRMIRes.com/Alpine. The Dillon Law Group at DillonLawGP.com. A.O. Sword Firearms Store at AOSword.com. And, in fact, you might even ask for a discount because you never know. Just the fact that you're coming in and telling them you heard it on the radio.
Why not?
We'll hook you up.
Yeah.
And we really want to thank Michael Schwartz, Joe Germisi, Sam the Gunman, and our digital master, Brendan Thomas, who hopefully is going to fix my Outlook as soon as I get him on the phone.
Fix your Outlook.
Go to the gunownersradio.com for podcasts and up-to-date information. And we cannot thank you enough. But, hey, Bob Siegel is in the house. And I tell you, as soon as we get in our cars, both Joe, Michael, and I will flip to Mr. Siegel's show.
Right after we flip on the air conditioner. Because,
yes, indeed. Will you give me back my fan?
Jeez. Oh, yeah. Here you go.
Oh, yeah. Oh, look. Now,
1 minute left. Here you go.
Look at that air conditioning, man. That's awesome.
Whole new world.
I know. All right, folks. Don't forget, check out the podcast. And don't forget to join San Diego County Gun Owners. And we will be back next week. And this next show will be rocking. Right here on FM 96, AM 1170.
The Answer.
Gun Owners Radio, fighting to preserve and restore your Second Amendment right. Learn more about Gun Owners Radio and how to become a guest or sponsor by visiting gunownersradio.com. Join Dave Stahl, Joe Germisi, and Michael Schwartz every week at this same time as they talk guns and Second Amendment rights. Have fun while staying informed and getting involved. This has been Gun Owners Radio on The Answer San Diego. This program is sponsored by Dave Stahl.